All right, so the next question you had was how do I take and make the light ray move? I believe that's what you were shooting for. So what I've done is I drew a little circle to represent a dot or a light ray, created it as a symbol, and this one, let me see here, sun, I think I called it. Nope, light ray. Gosh, I know I created it in here. What did I call it? I didn't think I called it light ray. Or maybe it didn't convert to a symbol. I know the mind crashed for a second. So I'm going to convert this to a symbol. I took that little red dot there. I'm going to just control click on it or right click, and then I'm going to convert to symbol. When I convert it to a symbol, I want to make sure that it's using movie clip because the movie clip gives its own timeline. And just like I did with rotating the sun, I actually can do a small animation that will keep on repeating over and over again because when I run this, just that little movie clip is going to run from the beginning to the end of that little timeline for that movie clip, and then go from there. So I'm going to name this one. I'm going to put in this ray of light. And okay. And so I've got this ray of light on there, and that's what that little circle is. So what I want to do is I want to take and add its own animation to the ray of light. So I'm just going to double click on it in the library. It's going to come up, and right now it's showing right there in the center, which is perfect. But I want it to look like it's there and not there, there and not there, there and not there, almost like it's blinking like a photon would. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the frames here and add additional frames, and then some of the frames are going to be blank and some of the frames are actually going to have something with it. So I'm going to go up to frame 5, and I'm going to make it so this is going to occur over a number of frames. All right, so I'm going to make it so that frame 1, it's got the object, and then frame 2, it's not going to have the object. Frame 3 is going to have the object, and then frame 4, frame 4, frame 1, 2, 3. Frame 4 will not have the object. Okay, so and then what happens when it loops back to the beginning? It's going to have the object again. So right now I have got frame 1 has actually got the shape dawn on it. I'm actually going to go to frame 2, and I'm going to insert just a regular blank keyframe. Okay, so that just means that on frame 2, there's nothing displayed on the screen. So now what I want to do is I want to show it again. So I'm going to go back to frame 1, and I'm going to copy that object. So I just highlight it over top of it, click on my little control C for copy, and now I'm going to go to frame 3, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. So I'm sorry, I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. All right, so there's nothing there, but now when I paste it, which is a Command V for me on the Mac, it's now going to paste it in the exact spot that it was before, okay? But it's going to paste it in at frame 3. All right, so frame 1 has got it, frame 2 does not have it, and then frame 3 has got it again. And now you'll notice one thing that's really kind of strange that happened. When I pasted it in on frame 3, notice I've got this little X down here, and then my shape is way off of that. So what I want to do is I want to take my little shape, and I want to make sure that it is located right there in that center where that X is, because that's where the other X is. If I don't, it's going to bounce, fling up there to the top. So if I move my animation, you'll see that all it's doing is just blinking there. So it's on, it's off, it's on again. And then the last frame, I want it to be off. So it's going to be just constantly blinking. All right, so I'm on frame 4, and I'm just going to insert a blank keyframe. So now I got nothing on that frame. So I've got something, nothing, something, nothing, and then when it reloops back around on the nothing one, it'll go back to the something one where there's a shape on there. So I'm inside of my symbol. I want to go back to my regular stage. I click back on the welcome. So that's now on there. I'm going to go to the scene that's got the ray of light on it. Okay, notice I've got this little dot. I drew this before and then converted into a symbol. But what I want to do is, besides just having it so that it blinks on and off, I actually want to move it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add actually animation to that um, object, I'm actually going to add animation to the symbol. That means that the symbol will move, and the movie that's just literally turning it on and off will work as well. Okay. So right now, if I did it, it's really a short period of time. So what I want to do is I want to kind of do this in two parts. I'm going to show first the animation of it moving from the sun to the water surface, and then I'm going to do a second animation from the water surface to following this fractal change. Okay, so I want to make sure I add a new layer for it. Okay, and right now I have that one. It's on the light ray. Well, that's not what I wanted to do, so let me bring this back up again. Now I think there's other things on the light ray. Maybe there isn't. Because remember, if you want something to animate, you have to have it on its own layer. So it looks like I don't have anything else in that layer. So it's right there, okay, on frame one. And then since I had, 24 frames, it automatically created it for that whole thing. What I want to do is I want to make it so that uh, it can change from frame one to frame 24. And that means that I need to convert this last frame to a keyframe. And remember, the idea of a keyframe is it's a point of change. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to take and convert to keyframe. All right. So now what's happened is it literally has got a beginning point and an ending point. Now there's no animation from the beginning point to the end point. So I need to add an animation. So I've selected all of that layer. I'm going to right click on it, and I think I can choose a classic tween, and that should be fine. So it says select frame separate span cannot cannot be tweened. Okay, you must convert frames to content to a symbol, which it is already. I don't know why I did that. It's just a kind of a weird way of stating it. Okay, because if you look at any of the things, if I click on it or click off it, notice that it's got this long line with an arrow. That means it did actually convert it to an animation. Don't know why I get the warning message. So I'm going out to the keyframe so that light ray, I actually have my original frame, I created the keyframe, and then I added the animation to it. So I want to go to the last frame of that keyframe of that animation, and I want to place the object where I want it to end up. So I've clicked on it. I'm going to go up here to my air, click on that, and now I'm going to drag it to where I want it to impact the surface. And so what's going to happen is it's going to take a move from where it was originally to this frame 24, and that is where the animation is going to occur. And I can actually see that by literally dragging the playhead back and forth, so I can actually see the animation occur. But what's cool about it is because I'm animating a symbol, it's also going to be blinking. So I'm going to go up to my testing this, test movie, and animate. And when it loads up, I'm going to go into my start, and you'll notice it comes across, and it's actually blinking as it moves. Now it moved really quickly, but it's actually blinking. Now, one of the things that you wanted to show with your animation was that it started off in one direction and then diverted and went a different direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and now add additional frames to that exact layer and then all the other layers, and I'm going to change the animation. So right now it ended right here at the surface. I want to take and make it so that it ends down at the bottom and shows the change. So I'm going to go out to frame 50, click my cursor in there. Okay, I'm going to insert a keyframe. Okay, so by inserting a keyframe, that's another point of change. But you'll notice that my blue line actually started here at the beginning and then continued on. That just means that there's now a new animation that picks up where it left off and goes to wherever I ended. Remember, if you insert a keyframe, that is where animation occurs. So right now I'm going to take and since the rest of the scene is actually blank, I need to add all the other parts. So I'm going to click on my little cursor here, and I'm going to insert just a regular frame. And if I insert just a regular frame, it'll take and fill in the other ones with exactly what was on there, because I'm not doing any point of change. So I'm inserting a frame. And what it does, you'll notice it just fills it in. Okay. And I need to do that with the other ones too. Insert frame. And so what it's going to do, you notice that now, my button's there, my back is there. All right, so I need to do the other frames as well. So I need to scroll down. So I'm going to go to that layer, and I'm going to insert a frame. It's going to carry that out, and I'm going to choose insert frame. Okay, and that's going to travel out to there. I got a bunch more of these to do, and instead of having to do each one individually, what I can do is click below the frame that I'm on, or the layer that I'm on, and now scroll all the way down to the bottom, click my cursor again, so literally all of frame 50 is highlighted, and now we do the same thing. So I'm just going to right click on it, choose insert frame, and now what it does is it fills all those other ones in. So right now on frame 50, I have all of this activity that's occurring. Okay. Now, the one thing that I didn't get a chance to do is I didn't get a chance to change this second animation. So it's at this part right here at the water surface. I want to make sure that at the end of this second part of that animation, it's in a new location. So I'm putting going out to my frame 50, where that's the keyframe. Remember, that's the point of change. So I'm now going to drag this down to the bottom of that line. So what's going to happen is it's going to first bounce off this one, come down, boom, hit it, and then go down to the bottom there. Okay. And so what it's doing is it's actually two separate animations. It's just one animation is going, and then it picks up the other animation and goes in a different direction. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to, of course, test this. So one thing I know is going to be a problem. So I'm going to choose test movie, and it's not going to run through the whole piece of it. And the reason why is you've got a stop script. So I'm going to click on start. Notice it stops right here and just keeps on blinking. So what I need to do is I need to modify where you have your action script for your stop frame. And I'm actually going to move that all the way down to frame 50. So it's going to go through frame 25. And instead of stopping there, it's actually going to continue onto wherever I have this stop script. So I dragged it out to frame 50. So now, instead of stopping at 1 second where you originally set up, it's going to stop at frame 50. So I'm going to go in there. Oops, come on, slow down. And I'm going to test it. Test movie and animate. It's going to come up. It's going to show it. And notice it's going to show the animation changing. And then my button's right there. And I can click on it and go back. So what I did is by creating those two animations, and all I literally did was create the first animation. And then basically at the end of that, put the keyframe. And then I went and put another keyframe out at frame 50. So it basically traveled one path till it came to frame 24. And then it says, oh, wait a second, I need to change my direction to meet the new keyframe that's out here at frame 50. So at this point, what I've shown you is the two actions that you requested. So I have got something that is my welcome. When I click on start, the sun keeps on rotating because remember it's its own symbol and it's got its own movie in it, so it's going to keep moving as that movie. And the same thing happened with my ray of light. When it came in there, it flew down, hit the bottom, and then it went down to this different animation point. And the reason why it slowed down is because the fact is that I'm traveling a shorter distance with the same number of frames. Okay, so with my first time going with it, it went from frame 1 to frame 24, but it had to travel the distance from where the air is all the way down to this corner. Well, that's a much longer distance, so it's going to travel faster because there's less frames to cover in that period of time. And then when I added my animation from where it ended here down to the bottom, well, it has less distance to travel over the same number of frames, which means it's going to slow down that portion of the animation. So that means that at this point, it should have covered both items. So I'm going to stop the recording here.